started through this, it's called Open Broadcasting, but then I have to get on Master. And it's coming through, so.
Okay, so you're connected.
I'm connected, all is good.
Pretty much a lot. Given all that.
Don't touch anything, she's connected.
Yeah. Definitely don't connect, don't touch anything.
So they would have their own drive. And then exit. Kind of just turn. Exactly, yeah. You know, there's a Circle K on down that one across the south side. And they want something, you would think would be room to put somebody out there that could do it.
I think they will.
Oh, yeah, she's gonna redo it.
It actually turned into the problem.
Alright.
I noticed when the guys doing that.
That's why we're going to chat. Hi, Alicia. That's in the ballpark.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
They spilled their life. Didn't shut it off. But just to put 550 or 60 gallons in
You have a key, right? Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Because that same one doesn't work, does it?
No.
They used to.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm right.
The same thing, you got
Right.
I still push the wrong one and then you gotta wait forever for it to reset itself.
Yeah. I'm impatient.
What time is it?
6:56.
Guys get a little warm too.
I'll wait 2 more minutes and then I'll start. Okay.
B is for all the doors. And up, so you want to get to a huge floor. Yes. You didn't take them first?
I'll just wait till he comes back.
Scale the window and go through it. Scale the wall.
Shoot the wall off.
What I was thinking. Do you think I'm looking for me to?
Not really. I mean,
Oh, it's the same.
We're nearing the end of the life cycle. They've been telling me to upgrade the taser anyway.
It's like that only makes sense, right? Because you're gonna be in a situation where you don't need it, and suddenly you're I don't know.
They said he was happy.
Yep.
And so I don't.
they take that so much space.
Well, no, not any worse than this.
You can actually get these to self-activate. They've got a holster combination.
Mine says
These
157.
are strong.
Yeah, 6:57. That's the time.
I'm going to start it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I just thought about that today when I was reading that thing. I was like,
I know, yeah. No.
it's not really, you have all the lights at 6.
I don't even think about it, not even chairs.
Is it one?
It literally was. I did. That's the- Why did I put this on?
No.
No, I just, I think I'll leave tonight, Wednesday, Thursday, and so make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Do you want me to get one going for Saturday?
No, I would really not.
She's on tomorrow too, right?
No,
Yeah, this is that one each.
Emergency meeting. Carla doesn't have anything to do.
I was gonna apologize to everybody now, I've gotten very little sleep the last 3 nights, and so I'm really tired. So I've been yawning since I got here, so please don't be offended, it's not any, it's nothing personal, I'm just really tired.
What is that, you're gonna be cranky? If you start yawning, you're right in my line of sight, so I'm gonna start
I'll
yawning.
try to cover my mouth, I'll try to be,
Just, there you go. I just need like a scream, so I just yawn.
I'll try my best.
I'll forget.
No, I don't think I'm cranky, I'm just tired.
Let's get one of those movable screens, just hide you behind it.
That actually would be fine.
It's fine. Yeah, nobody
I
got
can just not be seen.
Do you love that you got moved forward?
I mean, it's fine as long as the camera is not like directly on me. That
Not
just,
just all eyes.
That's why
that makes me really, I prefer to be behind the scenes.
How does that work as a lawyer?
Well,
Behind the scenes.
I mean, like, I'm not the star of the show, you guys are. I just sit here and chime in when I need to.
I just mean in lawyer life in
I mean,
general.
I do a lot of transactional work. So in court, like, okay, I'm in front of people, but there's nobody there. It's just like the judge and like, just the judge. It's just so normal. Yeah, it's just normal.
there's ways to hide, but I guess.
Did you-
I understand.
I stayed up one. I'm sure you were going to. I'm scared.
Did you see that? Yes. You got lucky.
Yeah, sure.
There was, my son said, supposedly.
Okay, we'll call the Utility Service Board meeting to order. We'll take a roll call vote.
No.
Roll call. Roll call. Ashley. Here. Stan. Here. Jen.
Here.
Carla.
Present.
Ron, I'm here, so all 5 of us are here. All right, the second thing, to get it out of the way, is Mann Brothers / BP site plan. I presume you're with them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, stand at the podium. What we need, I understand what we need to do is we need to sort of give the council's approval for the site plan that you're going to add a couple diesel pumps to it.
Yeah, that's correct. I have a few handouts on my So this is an existing and a proposed. I'll kind of explain just a little bit. These are preliminary in nature, so they're not to be construed as a construction document or anything like that. So I'm happy to answer any questions after or as we go through this.
Mark, did you get one?
I've got a couple extra copies if anybody else would like one. Essentially, first of all, I'm Scott Seipel with Star Associates in Lafayette. I appreciate everybody's time and allowing us to come in and present this project for the Mann Brothers. We're talking directly about this property that's located State Road 38, Yost Drive, the BP station on the east edge of town. Is that right? The west edge of town. And not sure if everybody, I'll hold that up so you can
Thanks.
get that. This is directly across from, I believe this is an NDOT facility right here. McAllister Reynolds is up this way, so everyone's familiar with that site. What the owner would like to do, and this is the second page of what I handed you folks, what they would like to do is, turn this around so you can snap a picture of that as well if you'd like. What they'd like to do is allow this station. Right now, it currently only can service gasoline vehicles. What they'd like to do is add a diesel station down here that would be full service for semi, tractor trailer, also as well as any other diesel burning vehicle. The idea is that this would be a single pull-through that would service master and slave, so it'd just be one pump island. We wouldn't have service on either side, it would just be a pull-through. They would enter the existing drive, curl around, and then exit onto Heim Drive and come back to 38 is the idea. Essentially, we ran several traffic patterns through here to try to traverse a full-size 73-foot trailer through, truck and trailer through, doing this route. This worked out to be the best configuration to get that truck through there, from what we found. And, trying to follow the development guide that Dayton has in hand. This was kind of our second step. First step was to get a hold of the development plan from the office and then address you folks and kind of go through our preliminary plan, answer any questions, see what our next steps are so that we can get, a permit through the city or through the town to be able to perform the construction.
Yeah, basically, you go down there, you plan, you go through all their steps, and then we have BF&S engineering always checks all the, works with them, and you checks everything over for utilities, whatever. But do you have, it seems to me like, I thought you were just putting in pickup diesel pumps, but if you bring a 75-foot semi in, can you make, coming north, can you make that curve to the right? That's a sharp right, and come around the south end of those existing, the overhang?
To come in this direction?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've run our traffic simulation through here and also talked to the folks that operate the station. And when they get their existing fuel tanks are in this location here. When they have a liner come in to refill their underground tanks, that's basically what they do, and then they curl back around and go back out this way. So they're able to traverse that now, and our feeling is that with this pattern, this will try to keep semi-traffic and car traffic as separated as possible. Because I know when you're in and around, large vehicles, people on foot get lost pretty quick. So, and small cars can get lost. So trying to separate that as much as possible. We looked at possibly putting the pumps in this direction to try to traverse this, but it just creates too much traffic in and around this, and there's too much potential for a bad outcome there.
That's a good idea, that island that sticks up when you curve around, you can always shorten it back 10, 15 foot if you had to.
This right here?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's elevated slightly because it's over the existing underground tanks.
Right.
So you're saying they would enter off of Yost Drive and exit on the Heim Drive?
That's correct, yeah. They would enter at the existing drive, curl around this way, and then come back to Heim Drive and back to Yost to 38 would be the idea.
I think they got 60 foot in back of there, from the back of their building over to the old car wash. At least 60 foot.
They have got, to the property line, it's approximately about 40 to the property line.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where it lays out. So we've got a 20-foot drive, and then there's a 15-foot utility and drainage easement between the property line and that line, and then we're about 5 feet behind the building with the pavement to try to keep an offset from the building.
But once you make that curve, no matter how long, you're just heading straight north, so it's...
Correct, yeah. Once you come out of here, you're headed north until you gotta make your exit on. And there's nowhere to go to the east, so it's basically everyone would come back around. So we've kind of oriented this drive a little bit to kind of direct them that way. I talked with Michelle Watts at BF&S, and one of her concerns was the proximity to this existing drive. And so I wanted to make sure I covered that with you folks to make sure that there wasn't a issue with that, having the two drive cuts somewhat close. Now, I understand that the car wash is not in use at the moment, or it's maybe between owners, or,
It's broken down.
yeah, it's not in operation, but that doesn't mean it'll always be that way.
I think Marshall Taylor has a question.
Yes, sir.
How many trucks can fit on the property with one of the pumps?
If you had one, so you're saying if one was sitting here,
At the pumps?
you could probably queue one more before they were gonna queue out into the drive.
Okay,
And you can service, if they're doing a full, like a semi can, if they're doing master and slave at the same time, they're probably about a 15-minute load time. So you could serve about 4, you could fill 4 an hour on average.
okay. My concern is you put up signs advertising you're selling to over-the-road truck drivers, and you've got 2 on the property. Somebody else pulls onto Hine Drive. He's got nowhere to go. There's no parking on anywhere on Hine or Yost Drive. So then that creates a problem. He's gonna have to go elsewhere, turn around someplace and get back out. And if you come the other way, you would have a similar problem, but the likelihood that one of those semi-drivers want to park until that opens up is very great.
Sure.
And we don't allow any parking anywhere on that for any type of vehicle. So that's a concern that I have, that you don't have enough room to adequately service over-the-road truck drivers. For example, across the street, Circle K has 3 or 4 islands, plus the ability to put probably 6 to 8 trucks waiting for that.
Sure.
And they don't have to back up on the 38 to get that. So that's a concern I have.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm not sure how we orient this. I mean, one option would be to kind of take the reverse route so that you could have one here and then one could queue behind here, but you're still in the same,
Yeah.
just like you said. And I don't have a good solution for that, other than if they were to come in and there's nowhere to go, they would figure out how to get back out and go across the road to the Circle K.
On the type of diesel they're gonna sell, are they selling untaxed diesel from trucks, or are they selling taxed diesel that pickups can get?
It would fall under however they're doing business with diesel, so it would be full service. So if it's, if you went in with your diesel pickup, I'm not sure how they operate that business, but it would be on-road diesel.
I understand on road, but the difference between semi, they don't pay any taxes on it at the pump, or the pickups you have to.
That would be with the billing inside the store. And that's, I don't want to dodge your question, but I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to that question of how the business operates, taxing and not taxing different customers.
So it's only one pump though, right?
Correct.
So it's either gotta be one or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nice to have it for pickups.
I mean, I'm gonna make an assumption here that depending on how you went in, if you had a tax-free ID, that you would settle that inside, or when you put your card in, the electronics of the equipment would be able to handle that. But that's a little bit out of my scope, so I don't know the answer to your question. I can do some research, talk with our client, and find out and get back with you if you'd like.
But could you take, if you put on-road diesel like for your truck, and you go inside and have a tax number, can you put on-road diesel in your semi even though you don't pay tax? Will they let you do that? Or does it have?
I'm not sure how it works, but, the long haul trucks don't pay tax. Some of the locals, that don't do interstate commerce, pay the tax. So,
Yeah, but I thought it was maybe colorized.
no, that's farm diesel or off-road diesel is red.
Well, then it could work if they had one pump. diesel and then show your truck here.
In an electronic world where, 15 years ago, we didn't have the sophisticated fuel pumps that we have now.
That's true, I don't know how they would do that,
Computer system.
You
You know,
know,
I went to the station up here, the automotive pumps were all shut down. I went to Truck Island to put fuel in the skid steer loader.
yeah,
They gladly took my credit card, I put the fuel, and I left. So
yeah.
whether or not they charged exempt price or not exempt price,
Yeah.
I really didn't pay attention, I was out of fuel, so,
Well, putting it in that is okay, yeah.
yeah.
What Scott was saying, Marshall Taylor was saying, it seemed like if you, I don't know if you were getting at this, if you reversed it and brought the semi in up by McAllister and shot, and came in off of Hind Drive, you could park 2 or 3 semis in there in the morning while you're waiting to diesel up. That what you were getting at, reverse it, or just in
No,
general, there would be a
I was
problem?
just getting at this, could potentially have a traffic problem there either way,
Well, then
due
you
to
have,
our no parking ordinance.
You know, then it would fire this, then it could.
right, but then you have semis leaving where cars are leaving.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you can't move the pumps up?
So take these and slide them
No,
up.
sorry,
or
like the new diesel one over here.
This here and move it like up this way.
Yeah, and then like line them up back
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, so we could take this and slide it up here. One of the challenges with that is we've got an easement here that we can't put structure in. And then it throws us this way just a little bit. And so the angles I'm trying to maneuver, a pickup truck or even a short tandem would be fine, but a full off-road, you have to be able to pull through there and then start making that turn out. It's a little bit short to try to do that. Plus, if our tanks are down here, there's a lot of equipment that gets run back to here. If we can put our diesel tank here, we really limit the amount of disturbance we're doing. If we kind of go up here, then we're kind of gonna destroy the grass and get into a lot more invasive construction than trying to keep it onto the southern half.
Well, it looks like you got almost 300 foot, so if you reversed it, you could put,
Yeah, you could come this way, you mean come this way?
Yeah.
The challenge with that is when you come back out, now you're crossing incoming traffic with the semi.
Yeah.
This way you
Yeah.
keep them totally separate. I mean, we thought about that as well, for queuing and just for, okay, bring them this way, and then they have a long run in, but then this driveway gets a little bit, a little bit challenging. And we're trying to be as we don't wanna redo this driveway if necessary.
So we have to basically say this sounds okay or not, or just to give them.
Well, I guess we need to see what area plan's gonna say about it.
Yeah, go down there and see if it's,
Well, there's really nothing for us to go through area plan for on this project, because it's already zoned appropriately.
yeah, but you still have to get a remodeling or a permit. I mean, anytime we do stuff on business property around here, whether you have a little addition or just
I mean, if that's where we're headed, I mean, we can go to area plan and say, this is what we wanna do. And that's, I mean, I know, I talked with you last, I think we've done it in October. It's been quite a while ago, but, looking back, I'm not sure, going through the area plan route, what we submit to them in this regard.
Well, I don't think you really have an option, you need to go to them and find out what their steps are. And they might be minimal for what you're,
Okay.
based on what you're saying, but you still need to address them as far as permitting and what's required. And then, did you call them?
I did,
Okay.
and everything I was getting from the county was, go back to the town of Dayton. I know the surveyor's office was, town of Dayton does their own jurisdiction and those kind of things. So I'll follow up with area plan again.
no,
That makes zero sense
Whether it's
because
like-
we're under the influence zoning, so.
Right, I
all
agree.
that stuff.
even if you get a fence around here or whatever, like Trish's business or ours or whatever.
Sure.
We all belong to unified zoning ordinance, you gotta go down there and get a remodeling, a building permit, whatever it is, and you jump through their hoops down there, because they got all the regs, and is that a big enough curve there, or is it a too sharp a curve, or whatever?
Well, I think it,
And,
you
yeah,
know, it depends on what you're doing, you don't need a permit to put up a fence. You just need to follow their guidelines, but I think that's kind of what he's saying, you know.
there's a lot of going on here, I would think you'd want to get area plan and BF for this.
Right, and I talked with Michelle, and her first step was, hey, we'll do the review, but then the development guide says, hey, go to the town, come to the town and say, because if you're against the addition, then it doesn't matter, you know, what area plan says or anybody else.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
How many, maybe Scott can tell us this, how many trucks are usually waiting to get gas at Circle K?
Just depends on the time of day. It's,
Some days it's full, some days there isn't anybody there.
right.
So like, how concerned are we with,
I guess we're okay with it, and if it becomes a problem, you know, of trucks trying to park out there, you know, I guess the marshal will deal with it and tell them they can't park there, they'll, you know, I get it. We'll put up a sign, no truck parking, you know, whatever.
You know, we have outlets in that area for semi trucks to get turned around. So,
Yeah,
yeah, there's really no reason for them to wait out on the road. They can bypass it if it's full and
yeah,
turn around, get back out there.
okay. Do you want to, sorry, go ahead. Do you want to take public comment?
Is either public got any comments on this?
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane. Do you plan on putting additional signs and things up? Or
As far-
asking
for wayfinding and
Right.
and that
Well,
nature to direct traffic?
on
or-
that site there
Yes.
in particular?
Yeah, we've got, from a wayfinding standpoint, because we're directional, we'll have, you know, exit only, do not enter up here on Hind Drive at this location. And then down here, the only folks that should be utilizing this drive is gonna be those that are utilizing the pump. So I would hope that this would not just become a cut around, especially when you could do this in your car. But there will be signage here that says basically enter only, you know, traffic, and show traffic flow patterns.
But not big
So-
signs to be seen from the highway?
The intent would be that the existing signage that's there would be maintained. Now, there may be an addition of a banner or something to that sign that says now, you know, diesel offer or something along those lines, but not a new large lighted sign or anything like that. That's not within the scope of this project.
Okay, thank you.
So could you check with area plan and work with Michelle and area plan and see what they think of all this, and then come back and report it to us? and
Sure.
Let us know. You could buy the car wash, you know, have a little extra angle parking over there.
So we need to vote, or we'll just
No, they just,
It definitely won't hurt to have competition on diesel prices.
yeah. Yeah, that would be good. So I think nobody's really against it, as long as everything, you get the trucks in
Okay.
and out, you work with them. So, maybe,
Okay.
you know, right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I mean, if we have a problem, we'll deal with it then.
Okay.
Make sure that the city printer works in the pumps.
Yeah, so you
It's
don't
a
have to
challenge
walk
for
in
all those
those.
places.
All right, so, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's time.
Thank you.
And we will check with area plan and then circle back through Michelle with a design or what we need to do on that end and keep you folks in the loop as well.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your
Thank
time.
you for coming. All right, our town attorney Alicia, do you have anything for this meeting?
I do not.
Okay, Mark, all right.
Can you make sure that mic's on? I can't remember if we turned it on or not. Thank you.
There you go. So all of you received a copy of my report. First item I have is the 2021 water audit. That's still in progress. I was hoping to have it done by this meeting, but the snow has slowed me down a bit, so I'm hoping to have it ready for submission to the state by early March. It's just a requirement, and we actually have till summer to get it done, but I'd like to get it off the list simply because with State Road 38 projects going to be starting and other summer construction projects, I'd like to get this out of the way before we get too busy. Next item is the Lafayette Renew annual report. That's been completed and submitted to the City of Lafayette. If any of you would like to have a look at that, I've got it on the computer back there. Mission Control annual fee, and I think I saw that under the bills. The only reason I mention it is that, not the invoice itself, but that is simply an annual fee that we pay to have that system, that it's a notification system that calls or sends me emails or texts if there's a problem with one of the pumps or if there's a power outage on one of the lift stations in town, so it's money well spent. Next item is the 2021 community crossings. So we've been discussing this for quite some time. So they submitted a bill to us for the complete project. I think it was in October. The town council reviewed it in November. We agreed to pay all except for the sidewalk and the 10% retainage at that time. So in November, they were issued a check. Well, first we'll go back to the total amount for the contract. The contract was for $289,941.54. Okay? We signed the contract, they signed the contract, we were all good. They submitted the bill in October. The town council approved payment for everything except the sidewalk and the 10% retainage. So in November, they were issued a check for $230,456.29. So the balance due to close out this contract is $59,485.25. So this certificate of completion, it is a document produced by BF&S Engineering that they recommend that we have contractors sign in agreement with us that they've done their work and they've been paid in full and the project is closed out. So they have signed it and had it notarized, they being Midwest Paving. Mike Smith from BF&S reviewed the document, signed and dated it for January 31st, and here we are today. So, at this point, we would need a motion and a vote to close out the contract with a final payment of what I just suggested, of the $59,485.25.
And you said that certificate of completion says in it that they've received their payment in full?
It says, let's see here. Yes, it says all bills for materials, equipment, labor, and claims for work performed by them and subcontractors have been fully paid.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
And so here's the guarantee or waiver of lien, and then after you, if you so choose to approve final payment tonight, we date this and then all 5 of you sign this contract so that we have it on file here. So, of course, the other thing that's kind of hanging out there that I'm sure is crossing your mind is this second bill that they sent us for the sidewalk. Well, whenever we sent the response to them that under Article 14, we're not going to be making that payment, that's the last we heard about that.
Cool,
They followed up about 3 weeks later with this.
okay.
So, am I standing here saying that they called me and said, hey, we're going to forget that bill? No, but the way things are
Yeah.
unfolding, it appears that way.
Okay,
So let's say that you approve this and we pay them, they're paid in full, we're happy, they're happy. We then need to come up to speed on how we close this out with NDOT, because I do not know how that is done. So that would be the next step, because it has to be officially closed out with NDOT so that it doesn't prohibit us from getting funds in the future.
yeah,
Now, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I'm just saying this here fulfills our obligation to the contractor, but not our obligation to NDOT as we move forward. And we can get that all sorted out, but it'll take a bit of time. Okay?
okay.
What's the motion you need right now?
I would move to approve paying Midwest Paving $59,485.25.
Second.
It signed a certificate of completion.
Oh, and to have all 5 members of the council sign the certificate of completion. Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Jen to, sign a certificate of completion and pay $59,439.
$59,485.25.
And sign that completion. We have a second by Carla. Is there any public comment? Council comment? Okay, we'll take a vote. Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so it passes 5-0.
Let's
So we could
sign
just go
it.
ahead and.
Yeah.
It's nice they filled that out without worrying about that other sidewalk.
Well, I think we had
We had
Good.
a legitimate complaint.
Yeah, they know it.
It wasn't an opinion, it was in the contract, so we could reference that specific part of the contract, so.
I just didn't understand why they went there and dug it out. Before, they should have just laid it right on top there, it would have been fine, and then dressed it to it.
We cut those concrete squares into like 1.5 by 1.5 and 2 by 2s and took them, hauled them down to do subdivision and used them down there probably for a feed or something under some of those, around that pond. They needed it or something. They did that half the sidewalk and threw the rest of it.
Did you have a question about it, Jim?
No, I was just reading it. It was short enough to read it.
Okay, the next item is the 2022 application. So it was due January 28th. I submitted it on the 26th. They sent it back to me with a couple of changes they wanted. They were minor changes. I or BF&S, we had referred to this as Walnut Street. Well, to NDOT, it's not Walnut Street, it's State Road 38, but they go through it with a fine-tooth comb and make sure everything meets their description. So I resubmitted it on the 27th, asked them to review it for any changes, did not hear back. So I would hope that by March, sometime in March, we'll find out whether we got the funding or not. And we'll hope for the best, you know.
Right.
Mulberry Communications. So there is around a dozen spots where Mulberry subcontractors cut our streets. to locate gas mains or whatever it may be before they bored underneath the street. And then they did a quick patch on them, which does not meet our requirements. So when that was happening, I had sent an email with the spec sheet to Randy Mace, who was the boss of Mulberry Communications at that time. Since that time, he's retired or resigned, and a new guy's taken over. So I've put together a list of all these locations, and I'll send this list along with our spec sheet. And what our spec sheet says is that if you cut the street, you have to then go beyond, cut another square 1 foot beyond that original dimension and pour concrete and then put asphalt on top of it so we don't end up with a sinkhole there in the future. So that's what we're looking for. But so I'll send that to Mulberry Communications in March. I don't want to do it too early because I want to keep it fresh in their mind as spring approaches and they're going to be doing this work. But I'm just making you aware that they're out there and we're going to continue to pursue to get them repaired correctly. Now, you know, some were done by Patton Construction, some were done by Barriott, some have even been done by, it's not Vectron, what is it now? Centerpoint. And that's not our concern. Our concern is that they were all subcontractors at that time for Mulberry Communication. It's their responsibility to see that it's repaired correctly. That's the way I'm going to approach it anyway, rather than us trying to chase down 3 or 4 different other contractors. So,
The person in charge now is taking over is Randy's son.
is that right? What's his name?
I don't know what his, I did know, but I
Yeah,
can't remember
okay.
right now.
All right. That's all the items I have. Any questions? Any comments?
You might want to stay there because we're going to discuss it.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ron, I do have one more thing, I'm sorry, I knew I did, I dropped the ball there. So, I went to this stormwater training last week, and it's an update of new regulations for towns. So I put it in a condensed version here, and I'm gonna give each a copy of this, and we'll just review it real quickly. But it's gonna put an added requirements for towns. But let me give you this first. So Dayton is part of the Tippecanoe County Partnership for Water Quality, which is an MS4. So I defined what an MS4 is on there for you. So any town that has a stormwater system that empties into a creek, a ditch, a river, or anything here are under these regulations, okay? And it's about pollution prevention of Wildcat Creek or the Wabash River as far as Tippecanoe County goes. So we are considered our own MS4, us, Battleground, Lafayette, but we're under the umbrella of the Tippecanoe County stormwater. So there's 2 parts to it, Rule 5 and Rule 13. Rule 5 is the rules that we follow whenever there's construction going on within Dayton. And that has to do with erosion control, silt fences, things of that nature that we see going on, such as out here at Truck, Indiana, or even out at Baker Farms. So the newest thing on it is that has to be, there's a special form now that the state requires, a weekly inspection form. It has to be filled out every week and shared with the contractor or developer saying, hey, these are the things we see that need repaired. You know, so they're wanting us to track it closer. So under a construction situation, the nice thing about that is that the developer pays for BF&S to be that oversight. So it'll be a requirement that we put on BF&S to do this weekly inspection and share it with the town and the developer to keep everything up to speed and documented, okay? The second part is primarily just the town. That Rule 13 pertains to any town that has a stormwater system, curb drains, whatever it may be. So on that, you can see a list of things that they're now going to require. Public meetings, maybe something on our website pertaining to stormwater quality. We need to update ordinances, do an annual report. You can see them there. So these items are going to start being required in calendar year 2023. Okay? So they're not, doesn't have to go in, be implemented today, but they're planting the seed, and I'm planting the seed here to let you know that we're going to have to turn it up a notch as far as what our responsibilities are, as far as public participation, public notification, and how we oversee our stormwater system. Okay? So any questions about this?
So for any construction, this is the case, this weekly monitoring report?
Well, a development. Now, it wouldn't be for someone building a fence around their house or whatever, but for things that, I guess, how do I define development? Well, we'll just say that, like the guy that was just here, you know, if he submits plans to BF&S and they say, hey, while you're doing this, you've got to do this for erosion control, it would cover that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody's digging dirt, moving
Yeah.
dirt.
Hauling dirt, all that. You know, some of the biggest things they're concerned about, which they have been for quite some time, is where do concrete trucks wash out at? You know, you have to have designated areas where you wash out concrete trucks because that water has such a high pH, or low pH, it's acidic, and they don't want that water eventually getting to the stream. I've seen trucks wash out near a curb inlet on a city street, you know, well, we know it goes straight to the creek then, you know. So they're just wanting closer oversight. You know, the problem is that, and I agree with all these things, but the problem is it's another unfunded mandate. Although I agree with them, they don't provide any funds to enforce it. But that's a whole nother discussion to have at another time. But
Funds would come out of our stormwater fees, right?
it would. But, and I just saw on the news last week where Lafayette's looking at, they're revisiting the amount of stormwater fees that their citizens pay.
Well, that might be it. We might have to do that.
Well,
Start, you know.
and that's fine, but I guess my point is that although I agree with all this, I want clean streams. I fish in them and stuff. I want clean streams, but there is a cost for these things, you know.
Mark, why do a lot of these sites, you have that erosion black netting?
Yes.
I call it erosion, whatever.
Yeah.
How's come when you do a whole housing development, why don't they have that along the streets, at least along, they don't have to go around each house, but all along the street, because every house is up and it's all bare dirt the whole season running down into the streets.
I know it.
Isn't there something?
They have it during, they had it during the construction time, but not during the house building time.
Well, I saw it around the big ponds and everything.
And on the back side, on the north side, they had it along a swell there, and they had it on that would be the east side. And then if you looked it out here at Truck, Indiana, they had it around the whole,
Well, that's what
the
I
whole
was
place.
thinking, and I was thinking the other day, now why don't they, or a month ago, now why don't they have it?
It wasn't,
The whole,
it wasn't spec'd in the design that was approved. You know?
There, on your example, you know, a lot of times they do the mats at the catch basins. On Baker Farms, they're required to clean to clean the camera all those drains before we they accept that part. And then on their containment, it's going to their ponds internally. It really, it's a long way from discharging directly into
But
the
the
stream.
truck place has those humongous ponds and everything.
Yeah.
You'd think they would be the, I mean, I think they're a pain, sometimes you don't even need them, but just you see one site happening to do well, and the other one to develop.
And, you know, I think part of that is the contractor, too. You know, I mean, some contractors do a better job than others, to put it simply.
It just seems like down there, they would have the same rules for each
Right?
you know, so no matter who you hired as a contractor, good, bad, or whatever.
Yeah. And I know that on more than one occasion, BFNS spoke to the contractor out here and said, hey, you need to get this under control here.
Because you've had them sweep down there, and clean up.
Yes.
There's been a lot of mud out there.
More than once.
Yeah.
And you know what, I think that that's the part of this new rule that will help. It will be a required weekly report that is reviewed with the developer or contractors, and I think it'll keep a better handle on that. I think that what you're saying is this is in response to exactly what you're saying, you know?
Okay, thanks. All right, I wanted to add this in because we just talked about it real quick, and I don't think it'll take a long time. Last meeting we had, we asked everybody about this loop, combining Shady Lane with Blessing Drive on the water pipe under there to do the looping system. We gotta decide whether to do this or not, so that we can get it done before the work on West Lane Drive's done. So, the system, those other engineers estimated a few years ago, it cost $60,000, it'll be plus that. I don't know what everybody feels, like Mike Smith, I asked him on January the 3rd, he said it was engineered okay, and unless you had more development there, no loops needed, or for pressure or anything like that, unless like Ron and Cindy develop all their land, because we're not going to. So what's everybody's thoughts? Ashley, Stan, everybody?
Don't need it if the engineer said we don't need it, we don't need it.
Right.
Ashley, what's your thoughts?
I think we ought to do things as we get a chance, you know. There's, you know, Mark's in the email, you know, talking about some of the advantages of it. You know, I know, you know, you've talked about your couple siblings, you know, building, or kids building in that area too, so, you know, I think looping's always a good thing.
But are we, like, in his email, I understood, like, it's not gonna hurt to loop it if you wanna spend the money, but if we don't have a problem now, like, now, or in 10 years, or in 17 years, is gonna be the same opportunity to loop it, like, we're not,
We don't, and Mark can speak better to this, we don't have any, we're very blessed that we do not have any problems at all
yeah.
with our rather new water system, okay? But as water systems age, obviously that's where you have problems with pipes breaking and having to shut off parts of it to work on valves and things like that. So,
But the looping is more for the quality of water and the pressure and stuff, and I think, from what, say what you said to me this morning about, if you got plenty of money.
Yeah, so, we had talked about it this morning, and there are probably a handful of places at least in town that could benefit from a looping system, where water lines have dead-ended. And I guess the best way to phrase it is that not only on Wesleyan, but these other places, and I can't name them off, but I'm guessing there's some over in Prestwick on those cul-de-sacs and stuff. But that, would it be helpful? Yes. Is it required? No, simply because we have not had any complaints or any concerns. We have good water pressure, we have decent water quality, we have a good hydrant flushing system in place where we don't get a buildup of iron or sediment at these dead ends. Now, let's say that there was a thing went out and it said the US EPA Clean Water Act is now giving towns free grants. We'll pay for the design, engineering, and water line fixes for anything you want. All you gotta do is apply for the grant, and we applied for it. Then I would say, you know what, let's apply for the grant, and if we get it, fine. But to spend $50,000 on it individually without there being water quality issues back there at this time or at any of these places, I would be hesitant to promote that, is the best way I could put it.
My thought would be that of the other places in town, there's some of them that have twice the number of houses on the system, that if you are going to do something, we don't get any matching funds or anything. So if you're going to do something, start with something, you'd start with the worst first.
Sure.
Or where the people are complaining the most or whatever.
Right.
But I was just in yesterday in Lafayette checking several subdivisions and like behind off of Veterans Highway, behind the Walmart. I got in there and got lost. Hell, you can't even get out. You're trying to get out on 900, you can't, you get dizzy in there. But you go down some of those circles, in those cul-de-sacs, and I mean, by the time you get to the end and back, it's a mile. They've got 50, 60, 70, 80 houses on a dead-end, non-loop system. So, in my opinion, Lafayette, if they can't even loop them and not doing it.
Oh, I'm sure they have lots of dead-end systems.
Yeah,
the city
and I
of
talked
Lafayette.
to Agers from the other place, I talked to Mike Smith from BFNS, and they all feel that it's sort of, yeah, like you say, you got unlimited money.
You should do it.
Go ahead and do it, but I think we got stormwater ditches, we got stuff to really spend our money on cleaning out that we can never keep up. You know, the ditch we spent $46,000 north of town behind Carla's, it needs redone now again. I mean, it looks terrible up there. You know, so, anyway, I'm in agreement too, you know, just,
What do you mean the ditch needs redone again?
well, you're going up there and walked it,
Is it silted in?
huh?
Is it silted back in or what?
Well, it looks like, yeah, I can't see the bottom, it looks like an awful lot of silt, and then when you, I haven't walked the whole thing, but it looks like there's a tremendous amount of growth coming back in it. And on the west side of Dayton Road North, you get down there, that still has never been cleaned properly. Now that, you know, that's behind Alex's old house, back end, you know. Between,
I mean, you're gonna have growth among these ditches.
well, you go look at it and tell me how many more years it'll look. I think sure looks like it could be cleaned out right now. We can look this summer, we can go up there and look. I'm just saying whether it's another year or 2 years, that stormwater stuff and everything is, first of all, I say do your looping on other places that maybe the people actually want it. I mean, I know what the residents of West St. Drive and Shady Lane want. Nobody, I think, except you, wants to loop this more. But do the worst places first. Well, actually, you can, what are you really smirking at? You can do that, but what, we had everybody back there sign the thing against that road. Everybody except 2 people we asked. Everybody back there loves it how it is, and we go along it. So I just want to put a nail in it right now, once and for all. I think the majority, if we need to take a vote or whatever, I don't think we want to loop that. Does anybody else want to loop that system and spend at least $60,000, $70,000 doing that? And it'll be the same cost whether you put a road in or not. It's a standalone cost. Do we want to spend that out of our, do you want to spend that out of our wastewater, out of our water fund right now?
No,
Ashley, you want to spend it right now?
Whatever you want.
Okay. Well, not whatever I want. What do you want?
No.
I don't want it.
I don't think it's That's the best we need right now.
Okay. I don't think it's just something, we got too many things to do. Okay, so I guess, I don't know if we need to vote or not, but basically it's a consensus that we don't want to loop that system now or whenever, unless this town just wins millions of dollars or something.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Ron, would you please use your microphone, and Carla too,
It's
please?
pretty close.
I'm bad about that, I apologize.
Thank you.
All right. Did any of the public have any comments on the loop system? I forgot to ask. Has anybody got a thought on it? Lisa, do you have a thought on it?
No, Ron.
Okay. I will say one thing, if we ever loop anything back there, it won't be right just on our property, it'll be between the neighbors and ours, so we have more available land that we can build on without having the stuff underground or over on top of it, using our lands. Okay. So is our land at stake. Okay, I think we've got everything. Public comments now for anything else? Public, Scott? Okay, council comments?
I've got a comment.
Okay.
So I've been
Thank you.
working with Bridget and you know, seems to be an issue when somebody does not have any intentions of using their water and sewer for, 3 months, leave town for a while or something like that, or, we continuously send them a, minimum bill for, minimum usage and stuff. And I've known in the past, that was not the case, that we had a, program and, this is what I've laid in front of you, item D, where we charge, $25 to disconnect and $25 to hook back up. And we don't charge the minimum for water and sewer in that scenario. So the utility is actually turned off at the house. You assume the house is going to be vacant for an extended period of time. Now, I understand the stormwater fee and garbage, we're on a contract on garbage, okay? So I understand that, we should probably be charging that in the stormwater fee, but as far as charging water and sewer at a minimum rate when nobody's in that residence, I don't think that's.
So you're talking about a vacant house, like it's either a rental that's not being rented, or someone's died and the family's gonna take care of it, and it's an empty home vacant for whatever reason, I just wanna make sure I understand this
Yeah,
situation.
that or a snowbird, somebody that's gonna be out of town for an extended period. I don't know that it makes sense if somebody's only gonna be, like, a vacancy on a rental, okay? Kind of depends, but typically that's pretty short term, maybe a month or something. In this market, it's probably not even that. So, that may not apply, but yeah,
So you're
definitely.
not, so mostly you're just talking about snowbirds then in general?
Snowbird, or like you said, if
So that's an idea.
somebody passes and the state's trying to work through things. It's not, probably wouldn't be something that would be permanent, it would just be, short term. And, I don't understand, some people have been denied this, again, we're sending a minimum bill for, the 3,000 gallon water, 3,000 sewer, okay, and, trash and the $5 stormwater, and, that is not.
So you're saying we're not
Correct.
applying this equally?
I'm saying that it is in our ordinance to do it this way, and we are not doing it that way.
So I would agree that according to our ordinances, you can disconnect your water and you will not accrue a water charge. But Bridget brought this to me and asked me about it, so, in our ordinances, everything's separate, so like water is one, wastewater is one, and, okay?
Trash.
Yeah, so sewer charges, specifically says that the minimum is 0 to 3,000 gallons is $25.76 per month. So that's 0 to 3,000, so I don't think that's something that,
Yeah,
according to our ordinances, gets waived or
we were looking at it.
doesn't accrue.
Yeah, the only thing they could say would be if they had it turned on and off, they'd have to pay the turn on and shut off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or shut off and turn on, but you'd still have to bill them for the stormwater, the trash, and the water, or the sewage.
Yeah.
But they would save the water part of it. Okay?
If they chose to disconnect
If they
for the
chose-
time that they're gone.
Right.
I don't understand why we would be charging for the sewer part. If there's no water, if the water shut
Because
off and
people-
padlocked at the meter,
Because people, I suppose, I've talked to the engineer, like BF&S before about this, and Mike Smith, and we could maybe get him to write something up. He says, Ron, you still need to charge for these. First of all, the state makes you have sewage, not water, but you have to have sewage. And people can walk in a house and dump their own water or hook up. People come in, we've had it in a long time ago, we've had people hook hoses. They're cleaning a house, so they have, we used to have the snowbird rates, and the old board stopped that because it was being abused a little. We needed to charge to pay for the infrastructure down in the ground, because that water is still, those pipes are still rusting. The sewage pipes and the water pipes are still rusting under there, whether you use them or not. So in 10 more years, we might have to, I think up around the fire department, it was $4.5 million to replace the sewage pipes up there about 10 years ago. There's the, Mark could look it up, back in the back, when John Swick and we had some leaks up there, and we had to camera it and everything. They were saying our pipes really needed to be larger, and some of them were having problems under there. But Mike says that you need to keep collecting those monies to pay for that infrastructure as these things wear down and everything. Now, our ordinance, I agree, what Jen said, it only lets you, it gives you partial credit. So right now, unless we change that ordinance, you can get the credit for the water, because you're not using, you not have to pay for that, but you gotta pay for everything else.
where would water be any different
Well,
than the sewer system?
are we,
Getting more all the time, and,
Well,
as you scrub your sewer system.
I think every board up till right now, you're asking this, is always charged for the minimum. If you don't live in the house, not use anything, the landlord's everything, they still pay the minimum because it pays for the infrastructure and everything. And I always thought that was on our ordinance. It used to be that way a long time ago. Now, in the last 4 or 5, I don't know when this got changed, or maybe I was always thinking wrong, but we need to really consider and think about what we get get Mike Smith's opinion.
Well, the ordinance needs to be changed if the sewer system is going to be in there. I don't agree with your explanation as far as why the sewage needs to be charged. If the water is turned off at the house, okay, used to, people had a lot of wells in town, okay? As times went on, I bet there's not 10% of those wells, probably not even 5% of those wells that still work. It seems like, when they break and the pressure tank rusts down or whatever, people do away with them. I know a lot of, I've closed several wells on different properties here in town, so, if there's no water going to that house, okay, and people that would use this, the utility office would probably know, okay, and it would, it could be verified that there's actually nobody living in the house.
Well,
Do that, but.
I think you're gonna create, you got 35% of the households in Dayton, Indiana that are rentals. And I can guarantee you how it used to be, they're all up there, their renter leaves there, and they want you to shut it off, and they gripe, and why are they getting charged, but yet they're working on it, and some run hoses from the neighbors and all that, washing their houses.
I can't imagine too many
But
people.
you're gonna
running
get,
houses, but
you're gonna have a tremendous amount of work turning these on and off.
If I have a rental property and I'm gonna be working on it and, you know, cleaning and things like that, I'm not gonna use this program because I want water and sewer, okay? Now, in this type of market, it's probably not gonna sit empty very long anyway, okay? But, you know, the water is going to be physically turned off on that, and, you know, we're charging to turn it off, and we're also charging to turn it on, so there's an inconvenience factor built in there for.
Well, maybe we gotta charge $100 each way so it doesn't.
But, you know,
Encourage
we're charging wrong right now per our ordinance.
Well, we're not charging wrong, because if we didn't turn it off, like, are you saying people came in to say, turn off my water, and boards have said, no, we're not turning your water off?
Yes. Yeah, we'll turn it off, and you're gonna pay the minimum water, the minimum sewer, the trash.
Okay, so my questions are, I know that there's a lot less people that are on well water, but we still have people on well water. So what happens when those people come in and say, hey, turn my water off? And then if we're not charging water, we're not charging sewer, but they're still using it, but they ask for their water to be turned off, so then they're just not charged.
The well is, when they attach to our water system, if they were going to continue usage of a well, it had to be inspected by us to make sure that well did not cross-contaminate the water system. So those houses actually have kind of two different systems. They got city water, they got well. Well is only to be used for outside spigots, so there is no pipe running. We inspected all those, okay? And I'm saying, you know, fast forward this many, you know, when we get water, 25, 30 years ago, okay? I know for a fact that people's, you know, when your well goes bad, most people are not gonna spend, you know, the hundreds, you know, maybe even thousands of dollars to repair that well when they have the city water.
Okay.
So you don't have nearly many active wells in this town as you must do.
Okay,
No, you
my
don't.
other thing is, we can turn water off, and we know that if the water's turned off and there's a lock on it, they're not gonna use our water, like they're not gonna use water, but we can't turn the sewer off.
Right?
So they could still use it. And there was a guy living in Dayton that somehow lived without water for years.
Yeah.
I don't know how. He lived without water for
Yeah.
years.
Well, you know, again, if.
I mean, like, connected.
You know, we can verify residency with this, okay? You know, maybe somebody knocks on the door twice a week or something like that, I don't know.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of work for somebody.
You know, I think
What, okay, so.
most people that would inquire about this and use it are gonna be, you know, people we know that, you know, that seasonally leave town or that sort of thing.
So that sounds like items that we can work out in some way, whatever we decide to do. I'm just trying to figure out what your end goal is. What's your goal with this that you're trying to accomplish? Because I'm hearing all kinds of different
To allow
scenarios,
people
so.
to do, for our utility to do what our ordinance says we have to do.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
mostly
right now, no.
reference snowbirds. So how many snowbirds, I know we don't all know, but just ballpark, how many do you think we have in this town?
10, you know, I don't know.
So is your,
Are
just
you-
to make sure I understand, so your goal is to just follow the ordinance as it's written, or your goal is to follow
Correct.
the ordinance as it's written and change the sewer ordinance to mirror this ordinance?
My goal is to follow the ordinance as it's written, and if the board wants to rewrite, redo, whatever.
So that's a
purposes,
future discussion,
That's a
but at the
future
very least,
discussion.
just follow what we've got.
And I agree with that,
I think we
Yeah.
gotta follow
Yeah.
as long as we all agree that it's written that water is the part that,
Yes.
okay.
It doesn't say water.
Well, it's in the water section, it does. This is, everything in here is for the water.
It also says disconnect his or her water specifically. So it doesn't reference wastewater in this particular part.
Well, let's follow,
It says the minimum,
in section D, it says if an owner requests the superintendent or the board to disconnect his or her water, then no minimum charge shall accrue or become payable until the owner requests the superintendent to reconnect and the reconnection is made. So that would only apply to the water. If we wanted to mirror this for the sewer, then that would need to be in the wastewater statute.
Okay, so I'll find this sewer portion of our ordinance.
I have it, you wanna write it down? It's 5327.
Designated garage. 5327.
I think
Do you
we,
know what it says?
Yeah, sewer charges. User classes, each recipient of municipal wastewater treatment services shall be either a residential user class or non-residential user class. Residential users shall mean any recipient of municipal wastewater treatment services whose lot, parcel, or real estate or building is used for domestic dwelling purposes only. Non-residential users shall mean all other users of municipal wastewater treatment services. That was A. And then B says sewer charges and rates. Sewer charges are as follows. 1, residential. A, 0 to 3,000 gallons, $25.76 per month. B, each additional 1,000 gallons or any part thereof shall be charged at the rate of $9.93 per 1,000 gallons. Then it goes on for non-residential users.
why don't we all?
And then non-metered users, which I guess this would be a non,
That's
Yeah,
set
well-
for well,
oh, okay.
well users.
Why don't we have Alicia look into all our ordinances, we all look into them, but I think we really ought to think if we're gonna change everything, we ought to increase that turn on and turn off to make it so that, because years ago, when I was sitting in there, the old board, every old board up till now, actually, they changed the snowbird rates, they changed everything so that with the advice of the engineers and everything, that they didn't like, just somebody walking out, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, it was just a big pain and everything, and all these landlords.
That's why we raised the cost to actually do it, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, raise it even more, because I know there's some people that own 10, 12 houses in here, and I know religiously, I got calls all the time that turn this off for a month and a half, 2 months, and then they were having garden hoses, and you laugh about it, but they did have garden hoses running out. When somebody's working on construction, remodeling a house in Dayton, it's easy just to go to the neighbor and run a garden hose over there. Fill your paint buckets, fill everything, and dump them down the sewage. So,
I mean, you're talking
but I think,
10 gallons, 20 gallons of water.
well, but when you're talking about a big loss here of revenue to a system in the town, I think we need to check with the, BF&S and engineers and see what goes into like I say, these old pipes under there in front of that house out there, they're still, for them to be able to hook on in 6 months or a year, they have the privilege of having that steel pipe down there that has to be replaced sometime. And some of our utilities make money and some of them lose money, so you gotta be real careful on this. You can't just take something that's,
So I kind of agree with you there, Ron, okay? So, when our, Steve Brock does our utility rate study, which, do we have that?
he's supposed to call me, he's calling me tomorrow to set up a time to come out and talk about that, present something.
I think something for this board to consider is to have a service charge like your power company has and your gas company has. If you look at your bill, you don't have to use any natural gas, and you're still being charged the service charge for the privilege of that line being out in front of your house and hooked up to your house. And same with electric, so.
Well, like the gas, I think it's $18 and some a month, whether you use gas or not, like to the old general store over there.
So instead of us having a minimum, 3,000 gallon or something else, replace that, hopefully it would be less, and do that.
Replace it with the $25 and
The
stuff.
service charge.
Yeah, but we need to, go ahead. Steve.
President has a question.
So,
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
okay, so our utility company will start abiding by this water section?
Yeah,
It's
so
the
they'll-
ordinance,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Well,
Yes.
unless we-
I haven't been.
You laugh, but it's been a problem,
Right,
okay?
but yes, they need to abide by that.
Sue, did
But-
you want
but I-
Took 4
yes.
months to get here, so.
Actually, when I talked to her about it, I said the same thing to Mark. Didn't I, Mark? Like, I mean, I don't know why we're here, like, I don't know who's saying not to follow the ordinance. You're making it sound like.
I think it was just a mistake,
Yeah,
that it was just a mistake that it wasn't being followed.
Yeah.
We now know it's not being followed, and now we're gonna follow it.
yeah,
brought
good.
up and we agreed.
And
Behind
we have-
closed doors that we should follow our ordinance. I don't know why, maybe she didn't relay it to you, but Sue, somebody will start with Sue.
Yeah, Sue Kiger, 750 Shady Lane. I think more importantly, we ought to have everybody in Dayton hook onto the water. There are so many people around that are not hooked on to the water system. I was told I had to, and I think everybody should. And that's more important than giving these snowbirds an extra break. If they can afford to be gone for 3 months, then they can afford to pay their water, for Pete's sake.
Sue, remember when the people that are unhooked from water don't get the $3,000 or 3,000 gallon charge.
They pay
get
more.
the 5,000, so they are paying a little more, you know, so at least,
But they should hook on.
yeah.
That was what we were all told. You know, water was coming in, you had to hook onto the water.
Well, they
and sewer.
actually, the people that push out water and sewage years ago, I went to those meetings.
I did
30
too.
years ago, they lied to us.
Yeah,
They said it'd only go up to $29, $30, it's gone, you see what it's gone to? You had to hook up, by state law, you don't have to hook up the water, you gotta hook up the sewage. You know, so.
state law says you don't have to hook up to the water.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you can have your own town ordinances and everything, I don't know which one overrides, but I've been heard that, you know, well, that's, I've heard that, we'd have to check on that, maybe I should, with Carla.
Yeah, and can you just tell me the wastewater
Sure.
It's 53.27.
Thank you. I just missed the last two, thank you.
So we agree we'll abide by the ordinances we found on the books now, and then we'll look at this, think about it, get some, you know, do some research. Okay. Any other public comment? Any more council comments? Carla? Okay, yes. Since we don't have any, I'll close this meeting and turn it over to Jen.
Okay, the February 14th, 2022 Dayton Town Council meeting will now come to order. Ron has already taken roll call, we're all still here, so we'll move on to the attorney. And the land use resolution I just sent to you guys, so obviously we're not able to do anything with that, but sorry, go ahead.
Do you want me to explain that at
Yeah.
all, or no?
Sure.
Okay, so essentially what that is that is a resolution to put a certain piece of property into public use. And Ron, you said you would give me the legal description for that, so I can add that to it. But it's gonna be a public use, and what they're intending to do is put green space and trails. And so that's what that's for. So if you have questions, just let me know and I'd be happy to answer those. I know it went out late today because I had just sent it to Jen, so it's not her fault, it's mine. And then for the billboard contract, I'm not entirely certain what you wanted me to do.
We just needed to put in the line that said, if I don't know, like, what, if either party didn't change anything, then we just
That
kept
it- so
going
the
or
sunset
whatever.
clause, okay. Do we have that in Word format or not?
Good question. I don't know.
Okay, I
I could look,
okay, if you find it, that'd be great,
For the
otherwise
contract?
we'll
the
have to.
billboard one.
We just
Because
found.
we just have
it.
we just like had scanned it though, I don't know if they have it in Word format.
Okay, so just add the sunset clause. I will get that ready for the next meeting. I apologize for that.
I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it was a rush.
Well, I mean, it's been sitting for how many years, so.
2007 or something, I don't know.
So, and that's, pretty much the only thing that I had. I did send also to Jen late this evening, a contract, regarding the Randy Martin situation, so review that carefully. And that doesn't necessarily need to be passed tonight, but we should probably consider it at the next meeting, so.
Okay. Anything else? No. Thank you. Okay, allowance docket for January 2022. Does anybody have any discussion about this? Okay, I would move to approve the January 2022 allowance docket.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the allowance docket for January 2022. Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. All right, our claims. I move to approve Alpha Business Technologies invoice 224575 dated 2/4/22 for $475.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this Alpha Business Technologies invoice. Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. I move to approve Bridget Cadwalder's mileage for January 2022 dated January 31st, 2022. It was for 157.5 miles.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this mileage for Bridget. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. I move to approve Lexipol invoice INVPRA 4155 dated 6/21/21 for $276.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this invoice. You'll notice that it was from a while back, and it just somehow got lost in an email or something, so we're just bringing it up to date. There was no late charge or anything, they're super cool about it. Any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. I move to approve our Mission Communications invoice number 1059594 dated January 19th, 2022 for $359.40.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this Mission Communications invoice. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0. I move to approve Mr. and Mrs. Tire invoice IN 00246984 dated 2/8/22 for $806.50.
Second.
Like a question.
Yeah, 'cause I'm just trying to figure out, I didn't have a chance to look at this closely, I was just trying to figure out what was for.
It was for a motor something or other. Don't ask me, I don't know about cars.
For a seat,
Seat motor
for,
parts.
in the police
Oh,
car.
okay, gotcha.
More than one seat motor. Okay. There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve this Mr. and Mrs. Tire invoice. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
That was more confident. And I vote yes, so that's approved 5-0. And finally, I move to approve the Sharon's Flowers invoice 47192/1 dated 1/8/22 for $214.
Second.
There's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Carla to approve the Sharon's Flowers invoice. Is there any discussion? How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, that's approved 5-0 as well. All right, moving on to the reports. I move to approve the following reports from December 2021, the appropriation report, the bank reconciliation, the fund report, and the revenue report.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion made by myself and seconded by Stan to approve the December 2021 reports. Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote? Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that was approved 5-0. Unfortunately, the January 2022 reports are not balancing, so we'll have to figure that out and approve those later. The minutes, I hope you guys got my email, I just added these minutes. I got them done and added them to a Dropbox, but you haven't had time to read them, so we're not gonna be able to approve those tonight. All right, Marshall Taylor.
I want to add a conference request to my list tonight so that I don't forget it. The conference is the Indiana Marshal Association Conference on April 8th and 9th. I'd like for approval for myself and Officer Knoggy to attend. We attend that yearly and get a portion of our state mandates through that. I don't have a precise cost tonight, but it's usually around under $200, so if you could just make an approval for up to 300, I'm sure that will cover it. That's still pretty reasonable for 2 officers for two days apiece.
Oh, so that's total, not per person?
Correct, that would be a total of $300, and it'll probably be 200, given what they've charged in the past, or under that. But I don't know if they're gonna have some major price increases this year or not.
I make motion that Marshal Taylor and associated officers are able to attend the police conference.
Indiana Marshal.
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Ashley and seconded by Stan. Did you want to put a cost down there? He said up to 300.
Up to 300.
Whatever.
That's fine.
No, no,
It's
no.
your motion.
No, I don't, because you don't know the cost, but, you know, if you,
Okay, so there's been a motion made by Ashley and seconded by Stan to allow Marshal Taylor and Officer Kanagi to attend the Indiana Marshals Conference April 8th and 9th. And seconded by Stan, did I say that?
Yes.
Is there any discussion? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
The next thing I have is, I've got some surveillance system quotes for the Dayton Police Department buildings and the utility barn down at the west end of town. I tried to get 3 estimates, but the third vendor that I contacted submitted one that didn't include everything that I had asked for, and never got back with me to try to amend that original quote. So we ended up with 2 quotes. You all have those quotes. Are there any questions about them? My recommendation would be to go with Haley's. One, their quote was about in half. And 2, we have had good service with them with the system that it's at the town hall. Just a little description about it. It will cover all of the exterior doors for all the facilities and buildings down at the west end of town, in addition to 2 cameras inside my office, one in the lobby and one covering the evidence storage door. So I think it's probably, we should have looked at this long before now, but it's not really been any problems, but it's one of those liability issues. I think probably would help our insurance quotes in the future, knowing that we had some surveillance down there.
And both quotes meet your specifications, your requests?
Yes,
Okay.
and they have been updated. I originally got these in November and December and kept waiting on that third quote to get in, never did, so kept postponing it. But I did go back last month, and had them update their quotes, which did increase several $100s respectively between the 2, so that these numbers that we show on these quotes should be correct.
So my Haley's estimate still has the November date. Is it 657908?
It is, but that
Okay.
is the current one.
Okay,
even
just
though
making
They
sure.
kept the date the same.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Mine has a different total, 60, what's the total?
657908.
I make the motion, we hire Haley's to do the surveillance system at the police station.
Second?
All right, there's been a motion by Stan and seconded by Carla to have Haley's do this surveillance. I do have a question. Did you go with 1 monitor or 2?
Just 1 monitor.
Okay. And that's obviously fine with you?
Yeah, because I can remote in,
Okay,
so I can look at it on another screen.
okay, cool. Is there any further discussion? Anyone? Okay, how do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ron?
Yes.
Carla?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we'll have Haley's do it. I assume you'll be contacting them?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll sign the estimate and submit it back to them.
Do they have a time frame on when and,
No, I did not ask that question.
I was just curious.
Any other questions on that? Last thing I have wanted to discuss was the snow emergency route ordinance. We actually passed this back in 2014, but I think due to mild winters and little snowfall, we never really had a reason to implement it. We come close to probably needing that with our last snow event that we had. Really, the only thing we need to do to finish this up is we can't enforce the snow emergency ordinance without posting some signs on the emergency routes. So we would need to designate what we want the routes to be and post the appropriate signage.
And how exactly would that work? What's your thought process on how?
How that works is, and it's pretty well spelled out in our ordinance, is that the town council president has the authority to declare a snow emergency, and that can be before the anticipated event. That way the word is out there, because after the declaration is made, residents have 12 hours to move their cars off those streets. So after that 12-hour period, after that's lapsed, then we would have the authority, the police department would have the authority to come in and impound vehicles if needed. Now, how that would look enforcement-wise, obviously we would prefer not to impound vehicles, but this would give us another tool in the toolbox should there be a problem. Maybe a resident can't move a car, maybe it's snowed in, maybe it doesn't work, which we've had all those take place, several of those situations take place this last
Or
snowstorm.
somebody got stuck in the middle of the road, you had to go.
Well, it would be blocking the road anyway,
Yeah.
so I would get that moved regardless.
Yeah.
But, this also does include some wording for what I would call regular snow events, which is anytime there's a ½ inch or more, residents are not supposed to park on the north and east sides of the respective streets. So a north, east, west street, they'd have to park on the north side. Southwest street, they would have, north-south street, they would have to park on the east side of the street. So that keeps one lane open for plowing snow just regularly. I don't know how often we might implement that, but that's the way it reads.
So, since we have a meeting in a few days, do you think that the three of you that were out dealing with the cars on the streets can put your brains together and come up with the best route?
I mean, the main idea is just to keep the main roads open. We don't want to
Okay.
designate every street a snow emergency route, but
Okay,
I think we could come up with some appropriate streets for that, the main thoroughfares. Because it actually refers to the parking commission, so,
oh,
you know,
well, the parking
if
commission.
you want to designate and remark and scan, or whoever's dealing with the streets is
That's the
come up
parking
with
commission?
that, or whoever, I don't care, but we can meet and come up with that.
That would be good. And then we can approve it and get the signs. I assume we don't have the signs, right?
No, we would have to work some
Oh.
signs. But we'd have to look at the routes and see what we think would be appropriate. I mean, they don't have to be over 15 feet, but people would hopefully look at them during the year and know that whether or not they live on that route. We could post something on social media and maybe put something in.
I feel like people, they did not do a great job moving their cars at first, but then when you asked them, when we were like, please move your car.
Yeah, when I gave them some encouragement, most were compliant.
Very nice encouragement.
And I uncovered a couple of disabled vehicles that really, even though they have current plates, haven't moved for a year or more, and they need to be moved. We do have more, because you can't store vehicles on the streets.
People did a good job moving,
Yeah.
pretty much, made it a lot easier.
That's all I have.
Okay. town hall upstairs. I think you brought this up, but you asked me to put it on the agenda.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, and it's just kind of died with all the other stuff going on. You know, what do we wanna do with it?
Clean it.
I had the idea, is town hall, would it be considered a historical building? And is there grants for work on historical buildings available? Would that be where we could get some money to do it?
It should be considered, if we apply for it, it's in the historical district, so that's an additional plus.
I mean, I'm just looking at, you know, things that, we don't want the upstairs to deteriorate anymore. We need it, you know.
So you're not saying do anything special with it, just keep it from getting worse?
Well, yeah, I'll get, you know, bring it back up, the plaster that's falling off the wall, find out, can we re-plaster it, or do we have to, you know, put drywall up? What, you know, what can you do? It's my understanding the windows have been changed a few years back, but they were never finished,
No sill plates or
you know.
trim around.
Stuff like that needs to be done, you know. If we're gonna use it for our record storage, we need to make some secure record storage areas up there and shelving and what have you, so that if you gotta find something, you can go up there and find it.
There's a guy that lives out on Wyandotte that does historical restoration. There's other people too, but maybe we could get a hold of somebody and have them go up there and look and see what their thoughts are, start getting thoughts on up there.
I mean, I just, you know, like I said, we talk about these things, but then they just seem to die after a few days, you know.
Well, let's you and me get some people, we'll get them up there, start on this and get some ideas and go from there, so. Yeah,
If we can't find that, the, what's this money that the town are giving us?
Really art money?
Oh,
Water.
the American Rescue Plan money?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
can that be can that be used for that?
Not really related to coronavirus, so,
Well, you might get it if you go up
Unless
there. The records.
I don't know, that would be like probably too much of a stretch.
I would agree with that. It's pretty much the only infrastructure you can really build is like utility infrastructure. You kind of have a good green light with that, but as far as other building improvements, probably not.
We keep utility records up there.
But are you building a sewer up there?
We could put in a restroom up there.
Okay.
I like where your head's at, but I don't think
All
they're
the
gonna go with
loopholes,
that.
all the loopholes.
I don't think they're gonna go with that.
Does any-
Surely there's some kind of grant money for historic buildings in your main
Well-
building in town and stuff.
First of all, is this a historic building, or we just think, like, is it
Sure.
categorized, like, registered, is that the right word? Like,
It's not registered, but it's
That's what
probably.
because the grants that I've seen for historic buildings, I think it has to be like on the list of historic buildings, there's a list evidently, and I think it's usually for the outside. But that's just what I've noticed, I mean, I haven't gone digging.
I think the list is through the state.
But you have to.
We need
apply
to
That you have to
Yeah.
apply and get it
You apply,
qualified.
and but they get buildings that are in the 1940s, 50s, certain kind of, you know, buildings, they don't have to be 100 years old, this is probably 1900s, something like that, so, and the main
I'm gonna
thing
look
is
at
you
the
can get it qualified if you haven't done any add-ons or tearing the walls outside off or anything, as long as it's in original shape, so we can check.
Yeah.
Might want to be careful.
Sort of register.
Might want to be careful getting signed up for something like that, because then you might be prevented from doing things like you're putting the awnings over the service doors and things like that.
We're just
So-
replacing the missing ones on those.
Well, he does have a good point, that if you do get on the registered list of historic landmarks and things like that, then there are requirements of how you can move forward with
Oh, I know, I know,
buildings,
I
so
know.
it's something to definitely look into and see what the
Yeah.
process is.
Is that something you got looked at, or is they do it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Susan Yost might have a good idea.
Who?
Susan Yost, or, what's,
Clausen.
Clausen?
Yeah.
Oh, I can email
Have a
him.
good idea of the age.
But it should qualify, and then there might be some things, you know, you can't paint the building certain colors and different,
Well,
but we'll have those awnings up before.
as long as you keep it within the, you know, historical period of the building and stuff.
We'll see. Does anybody else have any comments about the upstairs?
We need to- Stan's right, we need to clean it up and do something about it.
I'm afraid to go up there and clean it. If I spray it with something and then it just starts disintegrating.
That was good Boy Scout projects in the past.
Okay,
Hazmat suit.
public comment. Any public comment? Council comments? Any council?
Back here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Cindy Marsh, 749 Shady Lane, and I just want to thank Mark and Ron and Marshall Taylor for doing what they could to keep our streets clean during all that snow. They all really went the extra mile, I think.
Yes, guys, you did.
Yes.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Next time, if you could push more of it into our front yard. The kids really wanted a big pile of snow, so if you just need somewhere to dump it. 625.
Oh,
It's not yours,
council,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Ashley, do you have anything? Stan, do you have anything? Okay.
I'd just like to also add on Ashley for cleaning a lot of these driveways out too, that it helped a lot. So,
Was that it?
yeah, that's it.
That was your whole council comment? Do you need to check your notes again? Carla, do you have anything?
I don't.
Well, okay, I just had two things. So, Santa visiting Dayton was super fun, so I'm just putting this all in your brains right now. I'd like to do that again next year, and I was thinking December 18th. I know that seems very far away, because it is. And also, I wanted to put this in your brain, maybe towards the end of June, have a super fun, like maybe down Main Street, like a little kid, like box parade. We're gonna decorate the boxes.
Yeah.
So cute. Okay, just wanted to put that all in your brains. That was it. Okay, having no other business before us, this meeting is adjourned.